Hi everyone, my name's Draper and welcome to my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you hit that like, subscribe and turn on all notifications to keep up to date with the content that I'm going to be putting out, including my podcast. Let's get into the videos. Hi everyone and welcome back to the Dan Draper podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I really do appreciate it. I have an incredible guest for you today who is a brilliant filmmaker, actress and director. So without any further introductions, Ella, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Ella Greenwood. I'm an actor and filmmaker, and I have my own company, Broken Flames Productions, which is building a slate of mental health based projects because mental health awareness is something that I'm really passionate about.
Ella, thank you so much for coming on. I know that we've been chatting for a little while to try and get you on, and we finally found the time. So yeah, thank you so much. And as I said earlier, I'm really excited to chat to you today because you've got so many amazing projects coming up. But before we get into all of that, how are you? How are things?
Yeah, no, I'm good. I'm really good actually. Like it's not. I mean, I was gonna say it's really nice weather out, but like the blinds up. I haven't been outside today. But you know, the sun always puts you in a better mood. So yeah, I'm good.
Yeah. Oh no. Do you know what? I saw that a minute ago. I've got my window open, and I was just like, "Yeah, I'm probably going to go for a walk after this. I'll go clear my head." But yeah, how's things been anyway? I know that you've been super busy, and we're going to get onto all of your production stuff later that you've been doing. But yeah, you must be flat out at the minute.
I mean, yeah, I've been working on a lot recently, and I'm prepping for another shoot, and there's a lot to do for that. But I like to be busy, and it's work that I'm so passionate about and that I enjoy. So to me, it's fun and it's something I really do like spending my time on. So it's great.
Yeah. Oh, good. Well, I'm so glad, as I said, that you've come on, and as I said, I'm a bit of a fan for all the mental health work that you're doing, especially at the age that you are, because you're 19, aren't you? Just for the listeners to know that you're 19, so all of the mental health work that you're doing is utterly amazing. So congratulations on everything that you're doing. But what I wanted to just ask you, and as I do with every episode, where did it all begin for you? Where did your mental health struggles start?
So for me, it's kind of a blur. I just remember that as a young teen, that's sort of when I first started struggling. And yeah, had absolutely no clue what I was going through or sort of what was happening to me. And it happened in such a gradual sort of way that it was just, I feel like as each day went on, it was getting worse, but in the slightest sense. So it wasn't all of a sudden, oh my God, what's going on with me? Why do I feel like this? It was just so much over time that it almost seemed like, oh, that's just who I was now. It's like, oh, I'm growing up. Like, what am I turning sort of into? Why have I lost so much sort of passion and joy for everything? I didn't know. So it was so slow that I just had no clue what was happening and didn't really process it or take it in that something was happening.
Yeah, and would you say that there was a specific point for you that you realized, that you were in the state where you were, feeling a bit low, or however it may have been? Was there a particular time that you can remember, or?
It's hard because sort of with the way it happened, like I just started not liking anything, before being homeschooled, I went to secondary school and I just absolutely hated it. And I hated everything that I used to do. And I think it was sort of just sitting there one day and thinking, oh my God, like I absolutely hate everything. And like, just why does everything seem so hopeless? And I just don't want to do anything. I think it was when I put it all together, like, instead of just thinking, oh, I don't want to do that, I don't want to do that, it was sitting there thinking, I don't want to do anything, that was sort of the start of when I thought, okay, maybe something is wrong.
Yeah. And how at that time did it make you feel? How did you feel? Obviously, you were saying there that you had the motivational issues and things like that, but in yourself, how did it make you feel at that time?
It just made me feel just really hopeless, and I mean, it wasn't, I didn't feel like this overwhelming sense of sadness the whole time. It was more just feeling nothing. And also, I guess, a slight bit of sadness, but the fact that I just didn't seem to be myself. I didn't seem to be who I was and who sort of everyone knew me to be and who I knew myself to be. It was just, yeah, like it just felt like I was just this walking like shell of a person moving around and not really feeling anything.
Mm. And how did you cope with that then? I mean, for me, I've mentioned this on the podcast a few times. When I had a few family members that passed away, I had exactly the same feeling. I felt that for me that I was a shell of a person and that the lights were on and nobody was home. But how did you kind of cope with that over the sort of weeks and months that it was going on?
I think it's just doing things that I had to do. So, I had to get up, I had to do my schoolwork. I still did dance classes and stuff like that. Like I didn't want to do them, but I just did them. It wasn't really coping in a sense. It was just living. Like it was just, oh, I need to move. I can't just sit and do absolutely nothing. So that's what I'm gonna do. And just sort of, I just felt like, oh, that's my life now. Like it is what it is. So I'll just have to carry on.
Yeah, and I think that school's such a tough time as it is anyway, isn't it? Like for me, when I was in school, I didn't have the worst time. I had your general teen dramas as you always do, but for me, as I said, my experiences came later on in life, so I can only imagine the pressure of school and things like that we're going through. But one thing that I did want to ask you is how important you think that mental health is for people who are, of a younger generation as such.
Yeah, I think it's like you said, like school is difficult and growing up is difficult. And often people just think, oh, it's part of growing up. It's hard. Your hormones are going crazy. Like that's a phrase that's used so much. And, no one likes school. Everyone falls out, people, like everyone just has such a hard time growing up. But it's like, yeah, that is true. But also if you have an illness, then you have an illness. Like that's something that needs to be taken seriously. And I just think that it's not. It is difficult for young people because there's always that divide of, oh, they don't speak to their parents, they don't want to tell their teachers stuff, like they just, there's this real divide between young people and adults in terms of what they share and what they say. So that's hard. And then the fact that adults just sort of think that young people's problems aren't as important, that's what makes it so hard to sort of get young people help and for them to sort of say, no, I'm really struggling right now and I need actual help.
Yeah. Do you know what? It's really important what you just said there as well about how adults are, looking into children's mental health. Because I know that there's now, with people like Dr. Alex George and things like that, with the amazing work that he's doing for children's mental health services in general, but children's mental health services and places like Young Minds. And obviously, we're going to talk about STEM 4 in a moment. But I think that there is, still that common misperception of how to deal with kids with, mental health struggles. Because for me, and I've said this a couple of times, my parents have always been kind of the come on, let's just get on with it, or they were very caring, very loving, which I was very, very grateful for. But it was kind of pick yourself up, get on with it, and go from there, which I think in the long run has really helped me. But I think that there's, like you said there, you can kind of just push it to the side or poo-poo it a little bit, and you're just like, you don't really know what to do with it because you just expect the younger generation to turn around and just bounce back and they'll be absolutely fine. And they're the common one that I hear from when I've been working with certain CAMS practices and things like that is that, oh, they're kids, they'll just get on with it. That's the feedback that they've had. They'll just get on with it, they'll crack on, they're only kids, they'll get over it. But there's increasingly, and I think that, it's another question that I wanted to ask you later on, but we can bring it forward now. Is how do you think society is contributing to mental health and children? Because for me, apps like Instagram, TikTok, social medias are great platforms, but they're also very detrimental. So, what do you think? How do you feel that society and youth culture are mixing?
It's hard. I think sort of social media now, like I can't remember when I first got Instagram. It was a very young age. And so it was a part of growing up, and for kids even younger, they'll get it at an even younger age, and it'll be so much more a bigger part of their life. And I think it's good and bad. The same with everything, really. It's a great way to stay connected, and with the pandemic, like the only way you can connect with people is virtually at the minute. And it's great for that. And like there's some amazing like mental health profiles that really post wonderful things, and it is a great way to stay connected. But then the average person just uses it to post the best parts about their life. Like I would say that's probably 90%, even more of people who use it. So it's extremely hard, and you're always going to compare yourself to people online, whether or not you're like, no, I'm not going to do that. It's fine. I'm not. Like you sort of subconsciously do that. So it's just trying to find the best out of it and realizing when it's making you feel really bad about yourself. But yeah, I think it's a great way for young people to stay connected and to sort of share their concerns and to have themselves taken seriously. But yeah, it's difficult and it is hard. So yeah, it's good and it's bad. Like but it's a part of life now. Like it's just trying to make it better and trying to hope that it has less of an effect on less of a negative effect on people's mental health.
Yeah, exactly. And I think one thing that you said there was the profiles that are putting out the good content. Like there's there's sets of profiles that you can follow. I know that I previously had two Instagram accounts, one for the podcast and one that was a personal one for me. And the accounts that I was following, they're fairly similar, if I'm honest with you. But now that I'm focused more on the mental health side of things and I'm following more mental health accounts and positivity and wellbeing accounts, I can really see the difference in social media. I really can. It's honestly like night and day. It's so clear, and I think that that's where now we need to start educating ourselves, educating the older generation, because the people who are in the younger generation are feeling it a lot more. So we need to educate ourselves not only on the technology side of it, but how we can cope better with kids, adolescents who are growing up with these types of issues. And I think that one thing, and again, this is only my personal opinion, but there's a lot of work that's going into schools and mental health, and there needs to be a lot more done. And again, Alex George is a massive ambassador for that we can start to get things rolled out. And again, one of my previous guests, Johnny Benjamin, he's a great ambassador for things like that. So, it feels like we're kind of on the right path. We just need to keep going with that. Do you kind of feel that as well?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's more and more awareness of mental health every day. Still so much more to be done, but you can't deny that progress. And I think it's wonderful to see. And yeah, with things like social media, like they're not going to go away. And I've spoken to people who were like, "Oh, I decided not to go on Instagram," but it lasted like 2 days because it's such a huge part of just people now and society that it is just, well, you're not getting rid of it, so it's just doing what you can to make it better.
Yeah, absolutely. So how tough was it for you to reach out then to your parents, to teachers, to your friends? How tough was it for you to reach out and talk about your previous struggles?
It was extremely tough, and the thing is, like, it's tough because it took me so long to even have sort of a remote clue about what I was going through. And then it took a while for even me to accept it. It was like I knew what I was, when I did know what I was going through, then there was a period, it was like denial. It's like, one of those stages like, no, that I don't want that, because it had, when I realized what I was going through, I was like, well, there's such a negative stigma about it. I don't want to have an association with that. Like, I don't want to have that label, or to sort of put myself in that box where I feel like, oh my god, now I'm depressed. Like, that'll just be my identity. That'll just be me for the rest of my life. So yeah, it took me a hell of a long time to even accept it myself. And then sort of I only told my parents out of, like, I needed help. So I just absolutely did not want to tell anyone. And I mean, even like my friends, like, there's a few that I didn't even tell. And it's only like now, with all the work that I do, that they would know. But yeah, I didn't even tell them.
Would you say then that your relationship with people, whether it's friends or family, whoever it may be, once you kind of let all that go and you just had that moment where you're like, that's kind of, it's done now. Would you say that your relationships maybe had become stronger with your friendship group? Because some people can see that there's something that you can be struggling with, but it's hard to approach it with someone. So do you feel like that maybe for yourself that the relationships grew a bit with those people that were around you?
Yeah, it did. But I think for me, like, as well, still with all of the stigma and just the difficulties of just the lack of awareness in society, then I was sort of like, I didn't like that people knew, because it was sort of like, oh my god, like, if I'm watching a film and it's sad and I'm sad, like, I don't know, I just sort of felt like, oh my god, no, they're going to think that I'm really struggling at this moment. Or like, if I don't laugh at something, they're going to think I'm just really depressed right now. Like, I didn't want it to change their perception of me. And I think it made it, for me, it felt like it had made it weaker, even though it hadn't. But I just, for that reason, I sort of like, well, now they're just going to think of me in a completely different way, and I'm going to be forever changed. And I just, I didn't want that. So yeah, it did make it stronger, but there was definitely a long time when I thought that it had made it weaker for me.
Yeah, and it's such a careful balance, isn't it? That you want to stay true to yourself, but you also kind of want to reach out. And one of the things that I wanted to talk about, which I'm really excited to talk about, you do a lot of work with STEM4, which are an amazing mental health charity for teenagers. Can you tell us a bit about them and the work that you're doing with them?
Yeah, I mean, STEM for, like, it's just, they're so incredible. When I sort of became an ambassador, that I think that's one of, like, just the best moments of my life. Like, it sounds so dramatic, but just, they're exactly what I needed. They're what I wish I had when I was a young teen struggling, because they focus on early intervention, really just making people aware of what mental health is. And they have so many incredible apps that you can just, you can get it on your phone instantly. There's no 3-month NHS wait to just even receive a letter about an appointment. Like, you are able to access those resources and that help instantly, in a way that it's just for you. Like, if you're not ready to tell people yet, it's there for you. And I think that's just so wonderful. And that's, that would have done wonders for me. So to be able to be in a position where I can now promote that, and hopefully, for other young people in that position that I was, just, yeah, that it will give them the support that they need, and definitely help anyway.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's changing so many people's lives as well. It really is. I've done a bit of research, and I've spoken to a couple of people there as well, and honestly, they are the most fantastic organisation and something that's really needed right now. Really,
Yeah,
really needed. Um,
definitely.
so I just wanted to move on because, again, I'm very excited to talk to you about this. Tell us how it is that you got into. You said previously that you're an actress, but you're into filmmaking and directing. So tell us all about that, because that is incredible.
Yeah, so I've been acting for a while. Like, I've had an agent from such a young age, and been doing so many auditions and just small roles here and there, and just constantly in that environment. And then when I so when I turned 18, I didn't have any schoolwork to do, and I just had a lot more time. And I felt like I just wanted more control. Like I didn't, because it's so much just waiting. You're sitting there and you're waiting for an email, or you're waiting for an audition, or you're waiting for this. But I wanted to be like the one sending emails, or just having so much more control, and also to tell stories and to be involved in films that I thought would do good and would be something that I would love to watch. So that's how I sort of got into filmmaking through that need, and with wanting it to be something that was important to me. That's why I started making films on mental health.
Yeah, that's again. I was going to touch on that later on. With you tell us about Faulty Roots, because that's something that looks incredible, which I'm really excited about as well. But yeah, tell us all about that.
So yeah, Faulty Roots was my first short film, and I just wanted it to focus on a teenage character with depression, but in a more normal sense. Like she's still, I wanted her to still seem very real and not the sort of the really over dramatic, overemphasized version of someone with a mental illness that is often portrayed in Hollywood. Just to have someone who's a normal teenager, and yeah, has depression, and I just really wanted to try and shine a light on that. But again, for that not to be the whole story, it's about friendship. It's about her reconnecting with a childhood friend. And I just had the best time like doing it. It was so scary at first, writing the script and thinking that I'm going to do this film, but I just absolutely loved it. And it was such a nice feeling to sort of share some of my experiences with mental health, and to try and sort of have other people relate to that, and to try and bring them comfort.
Yeah, and it received some very, very high nominations, didn't it? Like all of the work that you've been doing, it's crazy where this has gone. Like the film festivals, and honestly, it blows me away. Like it really does. Like I'm looking forward to seeing it. Where when it's due out. But again, one of the questions that I wanted to ask you, and you kind of alluded to it earlier. How important do you think it is to bring mental health into films? I mean, we've seen mainstream where mental health spoken about in things like Joker, for example, and things like that. And then you've also then got the other side of it, which is the classic portrayal, which I grew up with, certainly, where that if mental health is something you were struggling in mental health, then in the cartoons, and obviously this is the old days. Sorry, I'm a bit old now, but this is they'd be taking a pill, or they'd be put somewhere in like a padded room or whatever it may be, which is so wrong when you look back at it now. So again, that's why I'm in awe of what you're doing with the filmmaking. But again, sorry, just going back to the question, how important do you think it is to bring mental health into films and mainstream media?
It's so important. Like I think films influence people so much, and you can realize that sometimes, but for the most part, you just grow up without realizing how much they've sort of impacted the way that you view things and the way that you feel about things. And so to have that negative portrayal, for that have to have been the way for so long, like that's just so harmful. And with developing the feature version of Faulty Roots, we've done a lot of research on that portrayal, and it is like they're often sort of viewed as or portrayed as criminals, or the word crazy is used so much, and it's just so overemphasized. Or it's about pills, or it's about this major suicide scene that's used more for the purpose of the plot and the entertainment value rather than what it's trying to represent. So it's extreme, like it's so important to get it right. And with like the TV show 13 Reasons Why, again, we were sort of speaking about that the other day, and the fact that it influenced young people to commit suicide. There were instances where the exact way that the whole process of suicide in that show, that teens had recreated that. I think that cannot happen. Like you cannot put content out there like that, because if it leads to someone attempting suicide, like that's horrific.
Mm.
So bringing a more normal and positive portrayal of mental health in the media can, one, just bring a lot of comfort to people, but I think it can really save lives and can really help a lot of people. So yeah, that that was such a long explanation, but in conclusion, it's so important, and I do believe that it can help a lot of people.
Yeah, and I think that you mentioned 13 Reasons Why there, and there's always been a bit of controversy around it and how it came out and things like that. I thought that it was a great series to watch and to raise awareness, but I also understand how triggering it can be for a lot of people as well. And I know that they put the warnings out at the beginning and things like that, but I think that there is certain bits of content or certain things that come out that have that kind of shock factor globally, that just go, wow, this is where we stand up, this is where we talk about it, and this is where we kind of go from there. And I do think that 13 Reasons Why was one of those things. Yeah, and hopefully with the stuff that you're putting out as well, it will have that huge global impact to just say mental health's a thing we need to talk about. Let's open up more about it. And that's where I'm really excited to see you go in the future.
Yeah, well, I hope, like, I'm going to do all that I can to get it in that position.
Yeah. So what projects have you got? What are you working on now? But also, what have you got coming up in the future?
Yeah, so the feature version of Faulty Roots, which I'm just so excited about, especially because it was my first film and something that it just changed my life doing it. And I can't wait to expand on those characters and really tell the story of that character and her journey with mental health. And then I've got a new film coming out soon called Self Charm, and that focuses on self harm, but in a there's no graphic scenes. Like, I just want it to be non-triggering at all, and just sort of really showcase a teenager being put into the sort of the mental health system and the ways that it can be just completely ridiculous at times. And it just doesn't seem like they know teenagers at all. That's something that I really wanted to show with that film. I just finished shooting Smudge Smile, which it was a wonderful shoot. That is about a teenage girl who is very happy and upbeat, and can just normally adapt to things and deal with them, things going wrong. And then she starts struggling with her mental health, and she's put in positions where people just expect her to be happy, like a birthday party and all of this, and she's just not. And that's starring the wonderful Mia McKenna Bruce, who's just an incredible actress. And then I am prepping to shoot my new film called Why Wouldn't I Be? And that focuses on male mental health for the first time that I'm going to have a male lead character. So, yeah, a lot of things.
I was going to say, you're going to take a break at some point.
But I love it, and it's so nice to connect with people who want these stories to be told and who are passionate about mental health too. So yeah, it's lovely.
Yeah, no, honestly, as I said earlier, I'm so excited to see what you've got coming up. One last question, if I may, Ella, is for someone who was in your position. What advice would you give to them? To either open up about mental health, or from your own experiences, how they can kind of release the stigma.
I think, like, just realizing that there are so many people who have experienced what you're going through, or who are currently experiencing what you're going through, and that it's not just you being dramatic, or something unfortunate that's happened to you. Like, it's, if you're struggling with your mental health, like, that needs to be taken seriously, and it's okay. It's not like, it's not, there's nothing to be ashamed of. It's just something that has happened to you, and there is support available, and there are people who you'll be able to talk to and who will understand it, and it won't always be that way forever. That's something that is, because it feels like that. Like, it just felt like I was going to be permanently stuck in that state, but that couldn't be further from the truth. And it's just, yeah, remembering that.
Yeah. Ella, thank you so much for coming on. I really do appreciate it. And as I said earlier, I'm in absolute awe of everything you're doing, not only just with the filmmaking side of it, but for just being an amazing mental health advocate. You know, I've seen some of the work that you've done. I'm looking forward to what you've got coming up. But, you know, as we mentioned at the top of the show, the fact that you're 19 and you're doing so much for mental health awareness and bringing it to the forefront, you've got I can't wait to see where you go in the future. Honestly, I'm so excited.
Thanks so much, and thanks for all that you do as well to promote awareness. You know, it's hearing people's experiences, and just that brings a lot of comfort to people. It really does. So yeah, thank you for what you do too.
Oh, thank you. You're very welcome. Ella, where can we find you? Social medias, websites, where can we find all of the bits to do with the films as well? Give us everything.
So my Instagram username is at popsella. Twitter is Ella_Greenwood, and my website's Ella Greenwood. And then for more work related stuff, my production company is called Broken Flames Productions, and that's the website. And yeah, that's how you find it on Instagram and Twitter.
Yeah, brilliant. Ella, thank you so much again. And as I said, you are incredible. You are amazing. So thank you so much again for coming on. And yeah, I'm sure that we'll be chatting again soon and hopefully collabing on another project.
Definitely.
Perfect. Brilliant. Ella, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you so much for watching this video. Make sure you hit that like, subscribe, and turn on all notifications, and I'll see you in the next video.